I want you to picture two people, same age, same job, same salary. On paper, they look pretty much identical. But when you look at their bank accounts, one of them is worth, say, $10,000. The other is worth $400,000.
That is a massive gap. I mean, we are not talking about a small percentage here.
No.
We're talking 40 times the wealth.
Exactly. And the only real difference, one rents their home, the other owns it. That statistic that the average American homeowner is worth 40 times more than the average renter, it actually made me stop and rewind. It just feels unfair.
It does.
Almost like the system is rigged.
Well, in a lot of ways, the system is designed to favor ownership. But the source material we're covering today, it argues that you can rig the system back, back in your favor.
Right.
And it doesn't take a lottery win or some huge inheritance.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into the financial brain of David Bach. Most people know him from The Automatic Millionaire. I mean, it's a total classic.
Yeah.
But we're not just rehashing a 20-year-old book.
No.
We've analyzed a brand new conversation he had, and it's specifically updated for the economy we're in now, for 2025 and 2026.
And that context is so important because the economy today, I mean, it looks nothing like it did even 10 years ago. You've got different interest rates. You've got this sticky inflation.
Oh, yeah.
And we all have these phones in our pockets that are basically slot machines designed to take our money every single second.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to unpack Bach's formula, but focus on the stuff that's a little counterintuitive, like why budgeting is actually a trap, why boring investing is better than the sexy stuff, and how to put your entire financial life on autopilot in like 10 minutes.
And maybe most important of all, we have to settle the rent versus buy debate because Bach has some, let's just say some very strong words for the influencers who are telling everyone to rent forever.
He really does.
Yeah.
But okay, let's start small. Actually, let's start with a latte. If you know David Bach at all, you know the latte factor. And I'll be honest, when I first heard this years ago, I kind of rolled my eyes. I thought, great, another boomer telling me I'm broke because I like oat milk.
It's the most common criticism he gets, for sure. But in this new material, he's very clear. He never actually cared about the coffee. The latte factor is a metaphor.
It's about the leakage.
Right. It's the unconscious spending, the subscription you forgot to cancel, the bottled water, the impulse buy at the gas station. It's all that frictionless spending. And the math he brings to the table this time is, well, it's pretty confronting.
It's brutal. He just asks, how much do you have to spend a day to blow $10,000 a year?
And the answer is $27.40.
Which today is terrifyingly easy to do.
Yeah.
That's what, a lunch, a coffee, maybe one Uber ride, and it's gone.
Totally. And Bach holds up this literal brick of cash, a $10,000 stack, to show you what it physically looks like. When you spend that $27.40 a day, that brick just vanishes. But here's the real insight. It's not about saving the 10 grand. It's about what that 10 grand becomes.
The compounding.
The eighth wonder of the world, yeah. Bach runs the numbers. You take that $27.40 a day, you invest it. Let's assume a 10% annual return over 40 years.
It turns into $4.4 million.
$4 million from less than $30 a day.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here. I can just hear people screaming, 10% returns now, and what about inflation? $4 million in 40 years won't buy a loaf of bread.
That's a valid pushback, and he addresses this directly. First, the returns. The S&P 500 has averaged about 10% for the last 100 years, and that includes the Great Depression, the dot-com bust, 2008, the pandemic, everything. So betting on 10% isn't a gamble, it's betting on the historical average.
Okay, so the growth engine is real. What about the inflation argument? That the money won't be worth as much?
This is my favorite rebuttal of his. He basically says, okay, fine. Let's say inflation is awful. Would you rather have 4 million inflated dollars or $0?
Right.
Because if you spend the $27 a day, you have zero.
Fair point. Being a millionaire with less buying power is way better than being broke. But there's another layer here. The privilege argument. Saving $1,000 a month. For a lot of people, that is just not possible.
It's not, and the data shows that. Maybe the top 30-35% of families can do this. For a lot of people, $27 is groceries. It's rent.
So what's the play then? If you're in that group, just give up.
No, you just lower the bar until you can step over it. Bach says, don't let the big number stop the habit. Can't do $27, do 10. Can't do 10, do 1. He suggests a 100-day challenge. Just save $10 a day for 100 days.
And that gets you a $1,000 safety net.
It does. But psychologically, it does something even bigger. It proves to your brain that you're not helpless. It builds that saving muscle. And then you realize, hey, I can survive without that $10 a day. And suddenly you can think about scaling it up.
Which leads right into the mechanics of how to save. Because this is where I always fail. I've done the budget apps, I've tried the spreadsheets, and I last, 3 weeks before I just get miserable and quit.
You and literally everyone else. And Bach says that's by design. He argues that budgeting is fundamentally flawed because it relies on willpower.
And willpower is a finite resource.
Exactly. You have it at 9 a.m. By 7 p.m., after a long day, you don't have the willpower to say no to takeout or that online purchase. If your whole financial plan needs you to make a good choice every single day, you will eventually fail.
So the answer is to just remove the choice.
He calls it the pay yourself first rule, but he frames it in a really interesting way in terms of time.
The first hour rule.
Right. He says the first hour of your daily income belongs to you, not your landlord, not the credit card company, not the government. You.
So if I work an 8-hour day, that's about 12.5% of my gross income.
Correct. And think about taxes. The government doesn't trust you to pay them at the end of the year. They take their cut before the money ever hits your account.
They automate it.
Because they know it's the only way they'll get paid. Bach says you have to treat your future self with that same authority.
That money has to go from the paycheck to the investment account without you ever seeing it.
Okay.
If you see it, it's gone.
Precisely. If it hits your checking account, you've already lost.
Now, he breaks this down into 3 specific buckets. It's not just one big pile.
Right. So bucket 1 is retirement. That's your first hour. That 12.5% going into your 401k or your IRA. That's for old you.
Okay.
Bucket 2 is emergency. This is about 30 minutes of your daily income, so roughly 5%. This is your sleep at night money.
And bucket 3.
Bucket 3 is the dreams bucket. Another 5%. This is for the fun stuff. A trip, a down payment, a wedding.
I really like that he includes that.
Yeah.
So much financial advice. Just feels like, starve now so you can eat when you're 80.
It balances security with actually living. And if you're sitting there thinking, I don't have 20% to split up, he has a really practical tip. The subscription audit.
Is this just the whole cancel Netflix thing?
It's more systematic. He says take out your phone right now, go to settings, click your name, click subscriptions. On an iPhone, it lists everything you're paying for. He says most people find $50 to $100 a month right there.
Wow. Forgotten apps, streaming services?
Yeah, cancel them and immediately set up an auto transfer for that $50 into your dream bucket. It takes 10 minutes, and now you're funding a vacation with money you were basically just setting on fire.
Okay, let's pivot to the elephant in the room, or maybe the house in the room. This is where the debate gets really hot. If you go on social media right now, there's this huge movement saying buying a house is a scam.
Renting is flexibility. Buying is a trap. We've all heard it.
Yeah. They talk about maintenance, property taxes, how the stock market outperforms real estate.
Right.
And Bach's he hates this advice.
He calls it a dangerous myth. He says the whole rent is better idea is keeping an entire generation broke.
Why, though? If the math on paper says stocks do better than houses, why is he so against it?
Because of the massive gap between math on paper and math in reality. The argument for renting is always, I'll rent a cheap place and I'll invest the difference. What I would have spent on a mortgage and repairs.
And if you actually did that mathematically, you might come out ahead.
If you did that, but Bach says people just don't do it. When you rent, you don't invest the savings. You just upgrade your lifestyle.
You buy a nicer car.
You go to better restaurants. It's lifestyle creep. A mortgage is a forced savings account. You have to pay it. And that forces you to build equity.
And that takes us right back to that opening stat. Homeowners are worth $400. Renters are worth $10. That $400,000 isn't just the house going up in value.
No, it's decades of forced savings paying down a debt. Plus, think about inflation. He gives this crazy example of an apartment in New York City. Over 20 years, the rent went from $6,000 a month to $25,000 a month.
Ugh, that makes me physically ill.
It's extreme, but the principle is universal. Rents rise, a fixed-rate mortgage payment stays the same for 30 years. Eventually, your housing cost goes to zero. If you rent, your biggest expense creates zero equity and just gets more expensive forever.
But what about the trap argument, the fear of being stuck?
He kind of dismisses this. In the U.S. market, a house is a pretty liquid asset. In a normal market, you can sell it in under 90 days. You're not in prison. He points out that $34 trillion in U.S. wealth is held in home equity. If you opt out of that, you're opting out of the main wealth driver for middle class.
Okay, so we're buying the house, we've audited subscriptions, we're paying ourselves first. Where does that first hour money actually go? Because this is another place people get tripped up. They want to buy the next hot stock. They want crypto.
And Bach's philosophy is simple. Sexy is how you go broke. Boring is beautiful.
He literally says, if your investments are exciting, you're doing it wrong.
Completely. He's strictly against picking individual stocks for the average person.
Yeah.
No day trading, no meme coins. He wants you to be the market, not try to beat the market.
And he gave us some specific tickers, which I appreciated. Let's start with the target date fund.
This is the ultimate set it and forget it tool. You just pick the year you want to retire, say 2055. The fund automatically buys a mix of stocks and bonds that are right for your age.
So when I'm young, it's aggressive and mostly stocks.
Right. And as you get closer to 2055, the computer automatically sells the stocks and buys safer bonds to protect your money. You do nothing.
But what if someone wants to be a little more hands-on? In a Roth IRA or something. He mentioned a few ETFs.
He highlighted VTI. That's the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF.
Total market meaning everything.
Pretty much. You're buying a tiny piece of over 3,500 U.S. companies, Apple, but also the small guys. It's a bet on the whole U.S. economy.
And for the tech people.
He mentioned QQQ, that's the NASDAQ 100, super heavy on big tech.
And the returns on that one.
Up something like 480% in the last 10 years.
Whoa. Okay. So why wouldn't I just put everything in that?
Volatility. When tech crashes, QQQ crashes hard. That's why he also mentioned looking globally with a ticker like VA, because sometimes international markets do better.
And for the person who is just terrified of losing money, the super conservative investor.
He suggests the Vanguard Balanced Fund. It's a classic 60-40 split, stocks and bonds. It averages about 8%. It's not going to make you rich overnight, but it's steady, boring, and safe.
The theme here is that time is the real asset. He had a really strong warning for young people who think they can speed run wealth.
Yeah. He says there's this myth that because you're young, you should take huge risks. Gamble on crypto because you have time to recover. Bach says that's backwards. Because you're young, you have compounding on your side. You don't need a home run, you just need to not strike out. Get rich quick is usually the path to stay broke forever.
I want to shift to the defensive side of this, because investing is great, but if you're drowning in credit card debt, it all feels like a joke.
It's like trying to fill a bucket with a giant hole in it.
Right. Bach has a strategy for this called the DOLP method. What does that stand for?
Done on last payment. It's his twist on the debt snowball. And again, it's a battle between pure math and human psychology.
Okay, so the math says pay the highest interest rate first. That saves you the most money.
Correct. But Bach says, ignore the interest rate.
Ignore it.
Completely. He says list your debts by the size of the balance, smallest on top. You take all your extra cash and you attack that smallest debt first, even if it's a zero interest card.
Why?
Because you need a win. If you have a $500 Target card and you pay it off in 1 month, your brain lights up. You feel empowered. Then you take that payment and roll it into the next smallest debt.
The snowball effect.
Exactly. If you attack the massive student loan first, you might go years without seeing a zero balance. You get discouraged and quit. The DLLP method optimizes for human behavior.
Speaking of human behavior, let's talk about relationships. Bach said something that I think every couple needs to hear. The spender marries the saver.
It's like a law of physics, isn't it? Opposites attract. One person loves security, the other loves the dopamine hit of a purchase.
And it creates so much friction. But he highlighted a specific danger beyond just arguing, the CFO problem.
This is critical. In most couples, one person takes the lead on money. They become the chief financial officer, they know the passwords, manage the investments, and the other partner is just along for the ride.
And he shared a really personal story about this.
He did. He talked about a health scare where he was in a coma for a bit, and he realized that if he died, his family wouldn't have known where the money was. They wouldn't have known the passwords for the life insurance.
That's a terrifying thought, leaving your family grieving and locked out of their own finances.
It happens all the time. His advice is that you cannot delegate your financial awareness. Even if you're not the CFO, you need to know where the wills are, the passwords, the accounts. You need an in-case of emergency file.
He also suggested prenups, which can feel so unromantic.
But he frames it as forcing a necessary conversation about money before you're legally tied together. It's about clarity, not just planning for divorce.
We've covered a lot of tactics. The latte factor, the first hour, the buckets. But to wrap up, I want to go back to the mindset. Because None of this works if you don't actually believe you can do it.
And that's why he tells the story of his grandmother Rose.
I loved this story. It really grounds the whole thing.
Yeah. Rose wasn't some Wall Street genius. She was just a regular person who, at age 30, decided she was done being poor. She started by saving 50 cents a week.
50 cents.
It was the consistency. She put it into stocks, reinvested the dividends, and over a lifetime, she became a millionaire. It proves that the amount you start with matters so much less than the act of starting.
And he closed with a question he got from Tony Robbins. It's a real gut check.
It is. Robbins asked a room full of people, if you have a dream you aren't working on and you die in 10 years, how will you feel?
And that just reframes everything. We're not just saving money to have a big pile of cash. We're buying freedom.
Money is the tool. The life is the goal. Dream it, design it, do it. The reason you automate the boring stuff is so you can free up your brain to focus on the dream bucket.
So for the listener right now feeling maybe a little guilty about the coffee they bought this morning, what's the very next step?
Don't let the guilt stop you. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Even if you can only save 1% of your income, just do it. Set up the auto transfer right now.
Just get the system going. Take the 10 minutes, future their home. You will be very, very grateful.
Absolutely.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll catch you on the next one.